We are heading towards the business end of the season here in the World Touring Car Series for rounds 25 to 27 of the championship here on RaceSpotTV. And what better place to go motor racing than here at the Virginia International Raceway. Paul Smith and Connery Maddock are on commentary duty here today. And Connery, we've not got the biggest of grids, but certainly we've got one of the better tracks in the world of motorsport.
Yep, absolutely. It's certainly one of the more underrated tracks, I would say, here on the iRacing service, as with many of the North American tracks, to be completely honest. It is a long one, though. Lap times, we're getting towards the minutes in terms of laps here, so the lap count might not be going so high, but we hope the action will.
We certainly do. If we have a look at the calendar, this is the final round of our American jaunt, our North America jaunt. So Virginia International Raceway will mark the three-quarter stage of the championship before we go to the final 3 weeks of the championship. In 2 weeks' time, we'll head to Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix layout, then at Donington Park and Silverstone, both on the national layout, to decide who is champion. And speaking of championships, it's 11 points separating the Was Cooking by CSS and Pure Sims Esports drivers of Jack Sedgwick and Ross McFarlane. Sindra Setsource for Was Cooking Racing Adventures, only 48 points off of the championship lead right now. David Baker just hanging on with the hope of a championship, 83 points back from your leaders. Damien Harris, Wojciech Savinovic, Stefan Scheller, Jake Blackhall, Dan Martin, Esteban Rodriguez round out the top 10 pro drivers. In your AM, well, this has got very close indeed. 12 points separate Andreas Gilman for Impulse Racing and Craig Williams in that Was Cooking by CSS outfit car, with Martin Shirley in third place, 118 points off of the championship leaders, so it's going to be a difficult job from there. Andy Shield, David McQueen, Stuart Bickley, Mikey Pollard, Richard Simner, Slavomir Jaworski and Maciej Sakovic round out the 10 in AM. Pro teams, there's 6 of them, and it's Pure Sims Esports who lead that one by 500 points over Semper Racing. RD Simsport are in third ahead of Wave Italy, Carlo Esports and Fast Repair Motorsport. And then the AM Championship, it's Was Cooking by CSS, is beaten by the Was Cooking Racing Adventures teams by 527 points. For MUK, AI Race Summaries, DCW Racing, Yellow, and Impulse Racing, AI Race Summaries, DCW Racing, Blue, and Team Mad round out the 7 AM Championship drivers. But let's take a look at your grid for this. The opening race of three 20-minute races here at VIR, and it is the Pure Sims Esports driver of Ross McFarlane just beating out Damien Harris by 74 thousandths of a second in his Wave Italy Audi. Jack Sedgwick and Dan Martin then share row number 2. The third row is your AM drivers. The Was Cooking by CSS driver of Craig Williams and Andreas Gilman, the 2 AM championship leaders, neck and neck on row number 3. Row 4, Stefan Scheller returns this week. Alongside him is Jake Blackhall. Then it's David Baker and Maciej Sakovic who makes a return to the series this week in his Team Mad car. Martin Shirley and Stuart Bickley are the last of the drivers to score lap times, and then those that did not set lap times due to various means, either penalties or not getting a lap time in. Wojciech Savinovic, Andy Shiel, and Elliot Roberts. Now, we don't know if Elliot Roberts is going to actually take the start here, because it does look like he's not been able to, he disconnected from the server and he's not been able to get back in so far. So the drivers getting themselves set here, Connery. We've got about 35 seconds. Opening races generally are a little bit quieter, but Wojciech Savinovic should be one coming through the field.
Yeah, I mean, you are absolutely right about first races, but with the things being the way they are, a couple of drivers out of position, like you mentioned, Wojciech a little bit further down the order than we're used to seeing him. So I'll be very interested to see how effectively he is able to work his way through this particular field. And of course, we have that championship fight between McFarlane and Cedric in the pro order as well, roughly towards the front.
This is going to be round 25 of Season 4 of the World Touring Car Series. Live here on RaceSpotTV, the engine revs rise. And we go racing here, and it's a poor start from Ross McFarlane. That allows Damien Harris to come past. Those Audis are rocket ships off the line, because here comes Jack Cedric around the outside into the horseshoe, turn number 1. McFarlane's got the inside line, and he's got a hope that he's able to stay there, and he does. So he only loses 1 place from the start as we're heading in through towards NASCAR Bend. Through there, nice wide, little bit of extra asphalt on the corner exit, and then into the left hook at turn 4A and 4B. And then through 5A, 5B into the snake. And through they go, single file. This is generally what you find here through the opening sector. Everybody gets themselves single file. And then this is my favourite piece of track anywhere in the world of motorsport. Through these corners, the sweeping corners, up over the risers, then into South Bend, a really quick left-hander. Wojciech Savinovic further back trying to make some moves with Maciej Sakovic as well, trying to challenge him. So those two duking it out further down the order. Into the oak tree. Fortunately, the oak tree long gone here, but no, now down to the back straight, and Savinovic able to stay ahead of Sakovic here. So Maciej has actually lost 2 places from the start.
Yeah, so sliding backwards just a little bit, and under a bit of pressure now from Stuart Bickley here towards the very tail end of the order. Bickley driver's left-hand side to try and gain the advantage in towards that little left-hand kick before we get into the roller coaster here, but Sakovic on the inside has the best positioning to be able to hold on to that position. Coming towards the end of the first lap now, Harris leads from McFarlane, from Cedric in that order as they come trundling their way down the pit straight once again towards that slightly more technical first sector.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that Damien Harris, whilst we were going in the practice sessions before this evening's race, was actually saying the car actually feels good around here this week. So obviously the car, this Audi favouring this circuit, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on in this one. Wojciech Savinovic made up another place on Martin Shirley down towards turn number 1, so that is a gain of 3 places up to 10th now for Wojciech. The problem is, the further up the field you go, the more difficult it gets to make those moves, and look at the gap as well in front of him. He's not going to be getting the slipstream. The person who is Ross McFarlane. I have a funny feeling that that was a slowdown penalty, and it is. And Harris is still serving that slowdown penalty. And there goes Cedric through. So in the space of a few corners, oh, Cedric is all sorts of out of shape. Dan Martin is trying to come around the outside here. Harris has only just now served that slowdown penalty.
Oh yeah, that one is going to hurt a lot. Definitely an unforced error in that situation, at least from what I could see. But now you have this big drafting opportunity coming down the back straight now in towards roller coaster. We skip over the chicane that's used in some layouts here at VIR. It's just a straight shoot all the way down here, and then looking towards the inside, at least briefly there was the RD Cinesport car. Dan Martin a little bit unstable under braking there, but is able to gather it up all okay. Scheller also right on the back of Craig Williams here, who's currently your leading AM car.
Yeah, Williams is trying to get himself back into the AM Championship lead after Gilman was able to overtake in an absolutely shocking evening last time out at Watkins Glen. Not just for Craig Williams, but for several others as well. Here comes Harris to the inside, and bang! Around goes Sedgwick. Well, this isn't bumper cars, this is motor racing, and right now Sedgwick will be feeling very aggrieved about that. David Baker had to take to the grass to take avoiding action in all of that. And that, I think, from Damien Harris is a bit of frustration. Problem is, you can't just go take it out on other cars.
Yeah, well, we'll give the benefit of the doubt for now and just have a look at the onboard situation. Damien Harris angling towards the inside. Door is left open by Craig Williams. To be fair, it's a bit of a dive, a bit of a lunge. That then ends up sending that was cooking by CSS car off. But you could tell there that Damien Harris was going for that move no matter really what Craig did in that situation. He was going to be alongside and diving it in. Whether or not that was the correct course of action, of course, is for the stewards to decide.
It was Sedgwick actually in that one.
Sedgwick, yeah.
Yeah, Craig Williams. That has actually gained Craig Williams up into 4th place through all of that. So we saw how keen Craig was to fight it out with his compatriots from the Craig Setup Shop and also the Was Cooking Racing Adventures outfit. So you know that there's no team orders there in that outfit, and therefore Craig, he's got his own championship to fight for, but Jack Sedgwick, I think he'll be really aggrieved about that. He's the championship leader coming into this round of the season, and with Ross McFarlane at the front, he can ill afford to drop any points. But McFarlane's 2.6 seconds ahead right now.
Yeah, he's really stretching his legs at this stage. Just reminds me of the maybe of the earlier seasons of this championship, where we'd see Ross McFarlane try to continue to extend his advantage at the very front of the field pretty much every single race. So rolling back the seasons, so to speak, there as we're riding on board with Stefan Scheller with Team Hoisingfeld. Of course, he has that AM leader ahead of him, Craig Williams. Of course, as we've explained so many times over the course of this season, AM and Pro, well, they're competing for the same points at the end of the day. It's set in 2 different championships, as we see fighting going on further back through the field. Speaking of a Pro versus AM battle, we got one back here as well.
Yeah, Gilman was trying to hang on to that place over Wojciech Savinovic, but Savinovic was having none of it. Savinovic wanted by, and he wanted by then and there, and rather forceful between the two of them. And you've got to be careful, though. You can't be too forceful, as Martin Shirley was taken to the dirt a little bit behind, and in fact, he's lost the place to Maciej Sakovic. So Sakovic in the very striking Team Mad livery, able to move back forward. He's been missing a few weeks as Maciej, so good to see him back on the grid as we head down the back straight once again. But the slipstream is strong here. And as they head themselves towards the roller coaster, it's such a tricky section of track, because you're coming up over a rise, you're braking, you're turning, and then it just suddenly appears in front of you, does that corner.
Yeah, it does. It's a little bit of a test of faith coming into there, especially like you said, when you're putting in all those inputs at the same time, all these outside factors. In a car that doesn't necessarily want to keep us on a straight line when you're off throttle on the brakes going down into a quarter corner, so it's a bit sketchy. But with 12 minutes left to go here in this one, McFarlane has 2.4 seconds over the rest of the field in a great performance so far, and he'll gain a bit more there as well, because Harris had a bit of a puff of tyre smoke in towards the first sector.
Yeah, just a little brief lock-up of brakes. Dan Martin, by the way, former AM driver, promoted to Pro this season, has tried adapting himself to being further up the field and has some good rounds in the championship, and currently having a good round here. Qualified 4th up into 3rd now that you had that incident with Jack Sedgwick earlier on. as we head through the spectacular section once again. Cedric making his way past Jake Blackhall, who's got a slow down penalty. So Blackhall, just these it seems really easy to pick up the slow down penalties around here, Connery, which does surprise me, because there's no real asphalt runoff here to say. It's all grass.
Yeah, and you still can't take liberty with the track exit, or even taking too much out of the apexes here either, because it will sting you with that slowdown penalty. And we've seen how significant that is already. I mean, like you said, we just had Blackhall suffer from one, but we had Harris in the early stages get one as well. Thankfully, that wasn't on the first lap for him, because we know how awful first lap slowdown penalties are, because there's nothing to base the slowdown penalty off of in terms of lap time, so it just errs on the side of really harsh punishment. But yeah, you do have to be very slightly careful around here with regards to that, especially if you have a big long train of cars behind you, like we kind of have for P2 at the moment, at least 4 cars strong at the moment.
Yeah, it's all sort of strung out a little bit here in this race. Savinovic all over the back of Blackhall, but no move being made. 2 Hondas together, 1 Pure Sims, 1 Semper Racing here. Halfway point of the race, it's Ross McFarlane who leads. Damien Harris 3.2 seconds back from your race leader, Dan Martin in 3rd. Craig Williams is your top AM driver in 4th place, ahead of Stefan Scheller. Jack Cedric, Jake Blackhall, and who's in front of us, whilst we're on board with Wojciech Savinovic at 8th. Andreas Gilman, the next AM, in 9th, ahead of David Baker, is down in 10th place. Then Magic Sakovic, Martin Shirley, Andy Shield and Stuart Bickley round out the 14 runners. Elliot Roberts was not able to take race start. Look at how much that slipstream is bringing Wojciech in there, and look at how much wheel input he has to make through the left-hander at the end of that. As hot to the ass. Fortunately for him, iRacing did make changes to the grass on this build.
Yes, it's a little bit less treacherous than it was. Excuse me if I'll use my English language correctly. Than it was has been for years and years and years. So it's definitely much more possible to save it on this current iteration of the grass. It's not like wet grass anymore, which is the joke that was usually made about iRacing grass previously. So it's a very, very welcome change, because one of the more frustrating things was dipping 2 tyres into the grass, where you'd be fine in real life if the grass was dry, but all of a sudden iRacing thinks it's an ice skate rink.
Absolutely so. As we go through another lap once again through the hog pen, and Savinovic is really putting the pressure on now on Blackhall. And to the outside, Blackhall's played it sensible here, looking to hold the inside line, a little bit of a squeeze between the 2 of them, and Gilman's trying to follow Blackhall's line here, trying to take advantage in all of this. We saw how intense the battle was between Gilman and Savinovic just a few laps ago. Savinovic back in front for the time being, staying in 8th place, but he's shown his intentions here with Jake Blackhall, and he's certainly making it known that he wants by.
Yeah, that is immediately clear, and well, Gilman is, like you said, not falling off the back of this. In fact, is really wanting to press on forwards. Of course, we've got Baker there in the background as well, always lurking. So this could be quite an interesting battle pack over the next couple of laps, depending on how quickly Savinovic can lock on to the back of a Blackhall, which he kind of has done already. And Cedric, of course, at the front of this train is kind of pulling the entire group around, especially coming down the back straight, which we are currently negotiating right now. But there is a very wide rift between this group and the leading pack, minus McFarlane.
As we do head down the back straight once again then, and that Audi, the grunt of that Audi that's in front there for Jack Sedgwick really does show down the straights. The rest of them is just a queue of Hondas here behind the Audi. Predominantly Hondas on the grid here today. Just a few Audis, just 3 Audis started this race. And what was it? 2 Hyundais, so an Elantra and Veloster. So really, you think of how last season was everybody, well, almost everybody was in an Elantra. This season, it's very much everybody's in the Civic.
Well, the thing is, we got a Veloster leading, or we got an Audi in second place.
Yeah.
So funny how that works out sometimes, right? Although I think McFarlane has definitely been making that Veloster look a lot better than it really, really is. I get the feeling.
That Veloster can be a handful, I can tell you that from experience, with it being a shorter wheelbase car of the Elantra. Now, Savinovic, as we look forward to that Veloster race leader, and it just shows with that one shot the gap that McFarlane has been able to pull out there. Savinovic again has closed up to the back of Blackhall. He dropped off a little bit on the last lap, but now he's really been able to reel in the Honda in front of him, Pure Sim's car. And Blackhall, you see them concertina up at the oak tree onto the dirt. That's not the best exit from Savinovic, and that just allows Blackhall to stretch that gap ever so much by a tenth or so. And what's helping Blackhall here is the fact that he's still got the slipstream of Jack Sedgwick in front. So we've got a little bit of a slipstream train right here, right now, with the Audi in front, with it being a little bit more grunty down the straight, able to stay ahead of them.
Yeah, it is pulling them around, isn't it? Pulling basically this entire group all the way down to David Baker, who's a couple of tenths off the back of Gilman here at the moment. As across the pit straight that we go again. Savinovic unlikely to be able to make a move here in towards turn number 1 for reasons that you've already mentioned there, Paul. I mean, if it was just him and Blackhall, then maybe the opportunity would have opened itself up into the apex of turn 1, but that Audi pulling everyone around and keeping everyone in their own place here at the moment, it feels like. Not all that many changes happening in this middle pack here. Although I am still very interested to see what Baker can do from this position, because I don't think we've seen everything that he's capable of so far this event.
I do know he's a little bit short on practice this week, so maybe just off the pace compared to his fellow teammates in Blackhall and McFarlane. And of course, Blackhall's the only other one in Pure Sims in that Honda, along with Baker. McFarlane, the sole one in the Veloster, and now Savinovic right up behind, getting really close to Blackhall, but again, Blackhall's staying within that sort of 0.6 of a second margin to Jack Sedgwick. Get a good exit out of here, that's what's important for Savinovic, and this time he looks a bit closer, does Wojciech, but so too does Jake Blackhall on Jack Sedgwick in front as well. So down the back straight, up and down the undulating track here. Savinovic in that Semper Racing car, getting closer to Blackhall, but Blackhall's getting closer to Sedgwick. Now, could Sedgwick be under pressure here, actually, from Blackhall, as we're going on to start our penultimate lap now?
Could be, but I think Blackhall has bigger issues to deal with how Savinovic is basically pushing his nose into the rear bumper of that Pure Sim Civic. So this is going to be an interesting one. We've still got 2 to go. We are, long laps here at VIR, but we're still crossing the line with over 2 minutes to go. It's a 1 minute 56 lap time here. That's what these guys have been doing. At least the guys at the front have been doing. But still time for these guys to settle their differences in this particular pack, even though we haven't seen any obvious moves really come to fruition over the last couple of laps. I think with this, with these are going to be the last challenges they're going to have to try and improve position here.
Sedgwick, he uses every inch and then some of the track to try and get that huge lump of the front end. It's a bit understeery as the Audi, but when it gets then onto the straights, it can unleash all of the grunt, all of the power of that Audi 2-litre engine. Through the S's once again onto the brakes into the left-hander at South Bend. Heading towards the end of the lap, Savinovic is trying to look early. That's going to compromise him into Oak Tree slightly. But he's trying to force a mistake out of Blackhall because he's been close all the way through these last 3 or 4 laps and has not been able to make any impression on Blackhall. So you've got to try and force the mistake out of the Australian. As we go down the back straight once again. And still, this 5-car train together. Not really looking at the cars up near the front because there's no real battles going on, although saying that Dan Martin and Craig Williams are pretty close on track as well. And whether that goes into the final lap, we'll have to wait and see. But through the hog pen once again, onto the front straight to start your final lap of the race. Ross McFarlane still with a 3.4 second lead over Damien Harris. Dan Martin is in third ahead of Craig Williams, who's your top AM driver in all of this. Onto the brakes, Savinovic is not close enough to make that move. So that's why Jake didn't move across there. Didn't feel the need to protect his line because Savinovic was just that little bit too far back there.
Yeah, still no opportunity, and I think for Blackhall, Cedric is his saving grace here at the moment because being able to leverage that draft onto these straights and keeping the move currently impossible for Savinovic to make because he just doesn't have that much of an overspeed coming down into the corner or even have any sort of overlap whatsoever is really saving Blackhall's bacon here at this moment in time. But there's still opportunities. There may be a lunge into Oak Tree. There may be a lunge in towards the roller coaster as well on this final lap. Look at how close Savinovic is getting through this SS section, but he's having to back off just that little bit into the braking zone at Oak Tree. He has to nail this exit now if he's to have any chance.
Out of Oak Tree they come then, and down the back straight. Savinovic is close. You just feel he's a little bit closer than he has been on previous laps. As we go up and down Dale, but he's not able to close up. He's not able to pull up alongside. It'll have to be the last of the late breakers here. He's having a look. Again, trying to force the mistake, but look to the front. Because coming around the final corner right now, Ross McFarlane, he's had a pretty quiet race in this one. 3.7 seconds over Damien Harris. Ross McFarlane for Pure Sims Esports is your race winner. Across the line goes Craig Williams as well. He's your top AM driver in the field. He gets himself 4th place. Savinovic isn't able to get ahead of Blackhall, so that means that the Australian finishes 7th. And then the rest of them coming through then towards the end of the lap. There's Martin Shirley to finish his lap. Andy Shield and Stuart Bickley are going to be the last couple to head across the line. Well, try as he may, Savinovic couldn't get through, but there's your race winner. Ross McFarlane, a dominant display in this opening race.
Yeah, that was an incredible performance. Really no issues whatsoever. Of course, things are a little bit tighter in the early goings and a little bit more concerning given the amount of action that we saw at the front of the field. But he was kind of saved by Harris's slowdown penalty and then everyone else getting a little bit caught up behind. So then he was able to just really run away at the very front of the field here. We'll get to the spinning wheel here in just 1 second. Just a technical issue that we need to resolve here just for a moment. But like you said, though, it was an incredible performance from McFarlane. And, you know, given how small the grid is here, full reverse grid is likely, and I wouldn't I wouldn't be against him going through the fields to get at least into a podium like for the next 2 races as well. He's that dominant.
Well, Ross McFarlane is somebody who is experienced in reverse grid racing, but so too is people like Savinovic and Jack Cedric as well. So those people also have their issues. There we go. The technical issues are fixed. We can now get the spin of the wheel, and well, it's more likely to be a full reverse grid than it isn't, but we said that last week and we ended up getting a small reverse grid, but not tonight. That is going to be, well, it's going to say 22. Yeah, it's basically a full reverse grid. So, let's take you through your results here in round number 25 of the World Touring Car Series Season 4. Ross McFarlane, he wins the race by 3.7 seconds in his Pure Sims Esports Hyundai, ahead of Damien Harris's Wave Italy Audi. Dan Martin for RD Simsport in his Honda Civic makes it into 3rd place, ahead of your top AM driver Craig Williams. 4th place for the Was Cooking by CSS Audi driver. Stefan Scheller in 5th, ahead of Jack Sedgwick. Get the teeth in there, Paul. Jake Blackall is in 7th, ahead of the battling Wojciech Savinovic in 8th place. Andreas Gilman is your 2nd placed AM driver for Impulse Racing. He finishes 9th place in the end of that race, ahead of the pro driver of David Baker in 10th. Maciej Sakovic for Team Mad finishes on an AM podium in 11th place overall, and then the rest of your finishers: Martin Shirley ahead of Andy Shield. Stuart Bickley was the last of the runners because Elliot Roberts was not able to take race start. So there we go, that's the first race of the evening done and dusted here, Connery, and well, we said that generally it's a quieter opening race here, and we did pretty much get that. We did get a couple of incidents. I mean, the big notable one, of course, was Jack Sedgwick from 2nd place getting punted by Damien Harris at turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely the most important action of the race, so to speak, because, like I said, at the end of the race, you know, incidents like that one just allowed McFarlane to run away really at the very front of the field and establish what was a 3.7 second gap at the very end of the event. And but the thing is, you know, the curse of finishing P1, if there could be a curse, is that with a full reverse grid, you're starting dead last. So yeah, let's see how this one goes.
Yeah, you are going to be starting dead last here in this second race of the evening, and overtaking can happen here. But if you've got somebody at the front of a pack, which is what we saw with Jack Sedgwick, if they've got that bit of grunt and the speed in that car down the straight, it can hold that position at the front of a slipstream train, and then people pretty much get stalled out.
Yeah, that seems to be what we saw. So whether that's something that's repeating these next going races still remains to be seen. But if that's a pattern, then absolutely we are going to get more draft block scenarios. We don't have DRS in these cars, but it feels like it's just a DRS train, right? That's just the situation that we've encountered here. It could be that drivers maybe were being a little bit more reserved here in race 1 compared to race 2, just to get the result in the bag, so to speak. But we will just have to wait and see. I don't want to speak necessarily too soon with regards to that, but that's the pattern, at least, that we saw in that first race.
Yeah, as long as we don't get a repeat of what happened in the last 2 weeks. But VIR, it's one of my favourite tracks to do racing in this series and in iRacing in general, to be able to go racing. So definitely it is a spectacular venue. And I think it's an underrated venue for series to come to. It's got various different layouts. This layout is the more favoured layout, let's be honest. It's the best layout of it on the full course. But I just think that series don't give it an opportunity coming here.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those tracks on the calendar that you see, and then you have a look at, you know, what the participation has been looking like in that previous in that week, and you just go, oh, there's not many races that split, or the participation is lower. But I don't necessarily see why. It's a decent circuit. There are a good couple of overtaking opportunities, decent action. I guess it depends on exactly which layout that you're using, but I would definitely agree with you that it's definitely one of the more underrated circuits. I mean, with regards to real life racing, I mean, I guess IMSA is the biggest thing that goes there on a regular occasion. So maybe it's not in the immediate consciousness, in the forefront of your mind when you think about circuits, but I definitely wouldn't say it's one of the lower tiers.
Yeah, absolutely not. But Well, what we will do is, for a few moments, just step aside, hear from the series sponsors, and then get ready for round 26 of Season 4 of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back to coverage of the World Touring Car Series, rounds number 25 through to 27 of the championship. Paul Smith and Connery Maddock here on commentary. Now, on Monday evening, we will be seeing the third sprint round of the World GT Championship here from World Sim Racing. They'll be racing around the Red Bull Ring for 3 20-minute races in their GT3 machinery. So make sure you check that out on RaceSpotTV on Monday evening from 8 PM UK time. And then on Tuesday evening, it's round number 3 of the World Sports Car Championship here from World Sim Racing. This one 90-minute race is going to be competing around the Watkins Glen Classic Boot. 90 minutes of action with LMP3s and GT4s out on the track, so make sure you join us on RaceSpotTV for that race as well. I do believe that that's 8 PM as well, UK time. But as I say, Paul Smith, Connery Maddock here for RaceSpotTV, and the drivers are just getting themselves set and prepared for the second race of the evening, a full reverse grid, Connery, so we're going to have some people keen to make some moves pretty sharpish, but with it being such a small grid, I don't think there needs to be the same amount of urgency than if you had, say, a full reverse grid with 30 cars.
I completely agree there. There's really no big incentive to get these moves done that quickly, because you don't have to complete as many moves as it would be if it was a full reverse grid with 35 cars or whatever. So I think a more cerebral approach needs to be had for those drivers that are starting towards the very back of this grid, and just keeping in mind that if they have one attempt and it doesn't work, like, not to panic and having to try and send it on the next couple of attempts. It's just okay, that didn't work. I have enough time. I can get through this just fine. Of course, I'll maybe lose a little bit of time, but I'd rather lose a little bit of time than completely retire from the race because I went for a move that wasn't on.
Yeah, absolutely. So these drivers, they've given themselves a chance to prepare. Now, one thing that they have had to prepare for here in this practice session So conditions out there, it's partly cloudy, but the track temperature, look at that, 43 degrees. It was 21 degrees in the first race of the evening, so a 22 degree swing in track temperature. For corners like Oak Tree, where you've got to get it slowed down, turned, and then get on the throttle from a lower speed, and that opening sector, that's really going to punish those front tyres.
More than usual. But yeah, that is a big swing in the temperature. It's what I mean, some of the practice times here, we're getting mid 158s. We were
in 56s.
Yeah, we were at 56s in the first race. So that's how it can affect things, affect the performance of the cars, especially over a long lap such as this one. Having a 2 seconds difference between 20 degrees hot or cooler is something that does happen. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe towards the end of these races, those front tires will be still trying to hang on, but maybe there's another reason, Paul, for these reverse grid drivers to take it a little bit easy on the first couple of laps and not put them immediately.
Yeah, they're just going to take it easy to start with. Bring the tyres in gently, because with these front-wheel drive cars, if you're able to bring the tyres in gently, you can get a bit more life out of them later on in the race than if you're really aggressive at the start. And then that ties in with what we've been discussing about, with it being a smaller reverse, a smaller grid with a full reverse, just means that you can have that bit of patience. When you see your championship rivals working their way through and you're still stuck behind somebody, it's very easy to get on the loud pedal a bit more sharpish.
And well, that could make the difference between having the run on someone and not having the run, and potentially might mean an overtake versus no overtake eventually as well. But the warm-up session is drawing itself to a close here, Paul, and we'll have our first reverse grid of the race evening coming up. Remember, this is the second race of 3 that we'll have today, so still plenty of action to come.
Certainly is plenty to come here in this evening. So we have got a 14-car grid. Elliot Roberts, like I say, wasn't able to take to the grid in the first race. So let's take you through your starting grid for race number 2 of the evening. And it's the AI Race Summaries DCW Racing Blue driver of Stuart Bickley, who starts his car on pole position. Alongside him, Series Admin and 3M UK driver Andy Shield in second place. Row number 2, it's Martin Shirley in his RD Sim Sport car and Team Mad's Maciej Sakovic. Third row of the grid, David Baker for Pure Sims Esports and Andreas Gilman in Impulse Racing. Fourth row of the grid then, we saw these two battling all the way through the second half of that first race of the evening. Wojciech Savinovic for Semper Racing and Jake Blackhall for Pure Sims Esports. Jack Sedgwick is sharing row number 5 with Stefan Scheller, with Craig Williams and Dan Martin on row number 6. Final row of the grid is that full inversion. Damien Harris for Wave Italy and Ross McFarlane for Pure Sims Esports. So, 40 cars heading to the grid for the start of this round number 26 race of the World Touring Car Series. Pleasure to have you all along here watching with us tonight at this spectacular venue at VIR. And I really do think that iRacing did a good job with the change of artwork and the touching up of it. Really did bring this place alive. Unfortunately, it did mean that we lost the oak tree, which was lost in a storm a few years ago, the iconic oak tree, but we still have the name of the corner. So, drivers get themselves set for the start of this one. They'll look towards the starter's gantry for this round number 26 of the World Touring Car Series. Engines rise. It's a long hold. but we're away at last, and it's a slow start from the second row of the grid for Maciej Sakovic. That's going to allow David Baker to come up alongside him. Meanwhile, at the front, it's Shiel and Bickley to the head of the field, side by side through one. Oh, there's contact between the Craig Setup Shop car of Jack Sedgwick, and that's David Baker, who's dropped all the way down to the very back of the field. As we still stay green flag racing then, Bickley in the lead ahead of Martin Shirley, who's been able to get ahead of Andy Shiel through turns 1 and 1 at the horseshoe. And then in through turns 5A and 5B. Bickley's not got the best run through there into the snake. That's going to allow Shirley to maybe try and put the pressure on. Speaking of pressure, Wojciech Savinovic has gained 3 places in the opening of this lap here. Stefan Scheller's had a little bit of too wide action further back with Damien Harris. But as we head towards the left-hander at South Bend, there's the move from Shiel. That's going to slow these two down and allow Bickley to get a little bit of a gap at the front, which he'll be very thankful for here. Through a tree and contact. Bang! Off goes Shiel. That was Savinovic to the inside. Wow, I think Andy Shiel will have a word or two to say about that come the end of this evening. But at the front then, Stuart Bickley has a 1 second lead over Martin Shirley, ahead of Wojciech Savinovic, Andreas Gilman and Craig Williams up 6 places to 5th.
Rule number 1 in motorsports, don't hit your teammate. Rule number 2 is probably don't hit the race admin. I think that's maybe the situation there. But well done for Stuart Bickley for being able to extend his advantage here on this first lap. Of course, that was caused by a little bit of a battle going on behind him, but it was a gain either way as they headed their way across the line to complete lap number 1 of race number 2. Are we going to see any moves down in towards turn number 1 this time around? We might see it for P2 here. Savinovic going to the inside of the RD Sim sports car in towards that first sector, and Shirley gives it up, but it also opens the door to Gilman, who follows through the tyre tracks of the Semper Racing car, attempting to try and get by. Unsuccessful in this instance, as Shirley will have the advantage once the track switches direction into the left.
Oh, Stuart Bickley's run wide. That's allowed Savinovic through there. So Bickley down from the race lead to second place with a mistake, and Harris is on the grass. He's around. There he is. So Harris has had a nightmare as well, and an incident. I saw there was a little bit of contact. There's more bodywork on the ground there, so I do believe that he's not the only one who's got caught up in that one.
Start with Sedgwick.
So let's look at that start then. Jack Sedgwick got a great launch in that Audi. That Audi is such a good car, and he forces his way down the inside of Gilman, gets onto the brakes late, and oh, that's just poor. He's braked late, but too late, and he's wiped out David Baker. This is what's happened to Damien Harris. He's battling with Jake Blackhall. He's got Blackhall to the inside, and well, there's got to be space, and bang! Now, who was that? Was that Baker? I think it was David Baker who collected.
Yeah, it was. So Baker being involved in both of those incidents on the replay there, and both of them not his fault.
And Gilman's in the pit. So something's happened to Andreas Gilman out there. There is his very battered Impulse Racing car. Let's have a look back. So, oh, please don't have any crashes in the straight line, guys. We had this last week, and again, 2 cars together, and was that championship contender of Craig Williams that he made contact with?
Could have been. We'll have a look. But yeah, this simply can't happen, folks. Look at this. Gilman squeezing to the inside, I'm not sure where you expect a car to go. There's no runoff down there.
I would love to see the onboard from Craig Williams, from the roof of Craig Williams' car. Here we go. Does he have any overlap? The gap's closed. It's then opened up again, and he's stuck his nose. It's such a silly accident to have in a straight line. We saw this last week. We saw it the week before, and once again, people just They're too busy fixated on the car in front of them to worry about anybody else that's around them. As we're going to go, we've got another replay here. This is what's happened to Martin Shirley. So getting forced out of the way. Again, it's unnecessary contact. Yeah, I'm sorry, but some of these drivers, they don't learn. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it. They don't learn, and they're just bumping their way through, and then behaving like they're the victim. I'm sorry, it's not on. This isn't motorsport.
Yeah, and on the initial assessment, it did look like Gilman was squeezing, but like you said, on the onboard, it was a bit of a different situation. It was a gap that didn't even exist. There wasn't even a car's width there at any point, maybe even for a tenth of a second, and that's given the benefit of the doubt. That was not a gap that was going to establish itself or even had established itself at that point. And like you said, this was stuff that was going on last race weekend as well. You know, so this is a pattern of behavior now, and I imagine a lot of people would be quite rightfully frustrated about it, because this instance that should not be happening.
Yeah, and it is things that should not be happening. That's the problem. So, as we carry on then, Martin Shirley, well, Stuart Bickler, should I say, trying to hold on to third place. He's got Stefan Scheller to the outside here. And there's Ross McFarlane now. He's been moving forward here. And he's just able to... just not able to get ahead of Scheller. There is McFarlane. Here comes Scheller now, got the run on Bickley. So Bickley's just been having issues with that run through Snake. Oh, and too wide through here is not exactly the wisest move. They do get themselves sorted out and in a line, but that's just allowing Jake Blackhall to pull away in front of them. Scheller's flashing the headlights. You can flash the headlights all you want, but I'm sorry, you've got to make that move, as Craig Williams now down the inside of Dan Martin at the oak tree onto the power. Scheller now right up behind Bickley. He's going to try and make that move down the back straight here, and just every time he pulls out from the slipstream, it's like it's hitting a brick wall. It's not getting past as they go down the back straight here onto the brakes.
Yeah, it's just not working out. It seems like the car just stalls out, really, as we... that battle's still going on between Dan Martin and Greg Williams, by the way. Martin holds on to it for now, and Williams has to give this one up temporarily. But that was a protracted, extended side-by-side sequence for those guys back there. Meanwhile, Savidovic is trying to one-up Ross McFarlane in terms of leading gaps at the moment. He's up to 4.5, 4 points. Yeah, well, it's coming down now, actually, a little bit. It's 4.2, but still going very well at the front of the field as these guys attempt to go 2x2.
Well, that's never going to work out here, as McFarlane's now trying to follow Bickley's line through the horseshoe into NASCAR. Oh, contact between Scheller and Bickley. It's all... Look at this queue of traffic. It's like a bank holiday Monday with somebody with a caravan at the front of the queue of traffic, and everybody's just having to wait patiently until there's a bit of dual carriageway to be able to go past. But Bickley's well within his rights to be in that position and to defend that position, because, as you said in the first race, Connery, points for AMs are from where they finish in the race. It's not a separate points table for those AMs compared to the pros.
I don't know how Bickley will feel about you calling him a caravan, but so he's the caravan of the Touring Car Championship. But down the inside it goes Ross McFarlane.
Yeah, and that is called pressure. But he forced Bickley to go tight into turn 11 and 12, compromised his line. Ross McFarlane opens up on corner exit and says, "Thank you very much, I'm going to come past you now, Stuart." Although Bickley in that Honda, it has got a bit of toe as that Honda. It's got a bit of speed to it. But onto the brakes, and Scheller, he was trying to take advantage, and he just barges his way past Bickley. Bickley's almost a battering... Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Well, that was almost inevitable.
Yeah.
Stefan Scheller then, with the contact, he tried to take advantage of somebody else making a gap. He was getting frustrated behind Bickley, was Scheller, with that initial, in the lap before. Has made the move to follow McFarlane. There you see, and it's never on. He's never alongside enough. And then Bickley's trying to recover it, and I mean, Bickley's come across a little bit on Dan Martin there, to be fair to Dan from second looking, but still, it's like, come on, guys, leave the space.
Yeah, you really do have to. I know it's been memed out of existence because of a certain Spanish driver, but it doesn't make anything make what he said any less true, right? You do have to give that racing room. Otherwise, you know, we're just playing bumper cars.
As now, I can tell you, Wojciech Savinovic has a 6-second lead over Jet Blackhall. So Blackhall made a mistake on that last lap. Savinovic is in another class right now. 1 minute 57.9 with his last lap. Jake Blackhall's last lap was 1 minute 59.7, and then everybody else, bar David Baker, is in the 2-minute bracket.
Yeah, I guess with the mid-pack guys, it's more due to how much side-by-side action's been going on, and of course, even if you're not directly involved, if you're in that train, you're still going to be slowed down by it. Meanwhile, Craig Williams trying to go for it over Sakovic. Sakovic able to defend through the roller coaster now, but Williams continuing to apply the pressure. This is going to be the battle for the AM class lead, remember. 5th place overall as well.
Being a professional commentator, I will show absolutely no bias, but come on, Majek, you've got to hold that position for Team Man. As they go down towards turn 1, the problem for Sakovic, though, is that Craig Williams is loving this Audi around this track. It suited him in race 1. He finished in 4th place in race 1. Sakovic has gone deep, and the nice cut under from Craig Williams there in that Craig's setup shop was Cooking Racing Adventures car, and through goes Williams, and now Jack Sedgwick is trying to follow his teammate.
Yeah, and as close as ever at this moment in time, so Sakovic may end up losing 2 places in a relatively short amount of time here, depending on how much of a firm defense he can put up against that number 10. Of course, Cedric can close in a little bit on this run in towards the S's section, 7, 8, 9. But it's potentially might be a tough ask now, because Sakovic is getting the slipstream off of Williams as well, and we saw how useful that slipstream off an Audi was in the previous race.
We certainly did. But look at how Cedric is all over the back. He just got the better run than Sakovic, and now he's going to pull out. And is his teammate going to try and pull over and give him a slipstream? No, Craig Williams is giving the slipstream to Sakovic here. And like I say, there's no team orders in this team, so Craig Williams holds his line, doesn't give his teammate slipstream. I know if I was a teammate of Jack Sedgwick there, I'd have been pulling over, giving him a bit of draft, but they're still side by side, and you should be Sedgwick in front of Sakovic right now, and it is. Into the hog pen they go. Sakovic has to concede the place there, but Jack Sedgwick getting no favours from Craig Williams there.
Yeah, I think that is a great representative example of how this team works. They don't work together, at least. Let's just say that.
It works for them in the AM Teams Championship, though. They're 1st and 2nd place in the 2 teams.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess they're just a bunch of mercenaries banded together. There we go. No allegiances to anyone else. That's how I like to imagine them.
As we go through NASCAR bend once again, head towards the left hook, and they carry on. So Savinovic, has a 7.3 second lead over Jake Blackhall. Ross McFarlane, who we're looking at here, has been dragging Stefan Scheller along with him, behind him. These guys have finally got into the 57, so you're quite right. It was all that battling, Connery, that they were doing that was slowing them down 3 seconds a lap. Now that they've got clean air, they've really been able to get the hammer down and been matching Savinovic for pace.
Yeah, they have, but matching is not enough to catch, especially with the rift that is currently between Savinovic and Blackhall at the moment. It wouldn't be outside the realms of possibility for McFarlane to catch Blackhall, though. But it would still be a very big ask. I mean, he caught about, what, 0.4 of a second on that last lap. So, repeat performance is there. I mean, still would bring it close enough to be able to make a pass in the final lap. So, maybe a little bit more required if McFarlane wants to get onto the second step of the podium rather than the third, where he currently resides.
Sakovic did have a slowdown penalty down through Oak Tree, so that struck him back into the grasps of Andy Shield. Here's Stefan Scheller then. He's just dropped back a little bit on this lap from Ross McFarlane as they go across the line to finish another lap. McFarlane with cracking lap time, 1:57.123. That is the fastest lap of the race right now. So McFarlane, we saw it in the first race. McFarlane set the fastest lap right at the end of the race. As there to the inside goes Craig Williams. Scheller, well, he's not fighting that one too hard, although give it the old terse flash of the headlights. I don't think he took too kindly to Williams' move there.
I mean, it's a simple move, easily done. There's really nothing to complain about there. I just want to point out, Ross McFarlane, with his fastest lap of the race being set, that was 1.1 seconds, that lap, faster than Blackhall. I mean, with lap times like that, yes, he can catch by the end of this race.
Well, he's nearly there now anyways. As Ross is about 1.3 seconds off of his Pure Sims Esports teammate, as we still see Craig Williams back in 4th place. He finished that first race of the evening, don't forget, in 4th place. Dan Martin and Andy Shield are also switching places. There we go, live pictures, and Martin gets the run on the inside on Shield. And it's the drag down the back straight. 2 Hondas side by side. They've got a Honda in front and a Honda behind as they're heading up the back straight once again. Absolutely neck and neck, trying to get a little bit of side draft off of each other as well as they hit the brakes into the roller coaster. They go, oh, and it's going to be tight. They're still going to be together here as they go through the left, and there's another left before the final couple of rights at the hog pen. They're still side by side between the two of them. Shield runs wide, but he can get on the power, and look at this, Martin Shirley. Well, he's had a shocker of a race. He's moving through, and well, I don't know whether there was any team orders there, but Jake Blackhall, obviously seeing that his teammate is a lot quicker, just said, you know what, mate, you've got it.
And as it turned out, Ross did have it. There we go. So we still have this battle going on for P8. Shield giving himself ahead of the 2 RD Sim Sports cars here at the moment. It's a big ask to do that, especially this late on in the race, as you see the differing lines being taken. I don't think that was intentional by any means. I think Dan Martin just kind of made a little bit of an error through that particular sequence, has extended the gap just that little bit here. So that will definitely affect this battle. Meanwhile, you've got Scheller involved again, this time with the other quick setup shop driver of Jack Sedgwick. So Sedgwick through.
Yeah, Sedgwick has made it past Scheller now, so those 2 Craig setup shop cars doing well. Williams will be wanting a little bit of order to his results in having 2 4th places, but Jack Sedgwick will want as many points as possible to help him out in the Pro Championship. Jake Blackhall's got a slow down penalty right now on the back straight, and that's going to leave him susceptible to Craig Williams. Well, it moves him closer to Craig Williams right now. He's still not served that slow down penalty as he comes into the roller coaster. Now he has, but that means that Craig Williams now has got a sniff of a slipstream as we are starting the final lap of the race with Wojciech Savinovic.
And here we go with around about 8 seconds left to go across the line. to start the final lap of the event. Of course, we've got another race coming up, so the action's definitely not done once this lap is done, and we've still got potential battles going on if Williams can lock onto the back of Blackhall, but that gap has kind of stabilized at about 7-8 tenths of a second here at the moment, so not expecting a change there. However, you know, definitely have been wrong before and will be wrong again. It's just a matter of time.
It's just a matter of statistics, really, as to when commentators are wrong. Usually most of the time, to be fair. As Blackhall through the snake and onto this underneath the bridge. Used to advertise a certain German brand diesel car, but for some reason they got rid of that sponsorship. Can't imagine why. Through the S's here in towards Snake Bend, and opportunities just running out for Craig Williams here onto turns 11 and 12 at the Oak Tree. Jack Sedgwick, though, will be wanting to make some moves forward out of these two as well, as they're heading down the back straight now in the slipstream of Jake Blackhall in front. And the two Craig set-up shop Was Cooking Racing Adventures cars are together. Will Cedric make a move? No, he won't. So they're going to stay where they are for the time being, but look to the front, because Wojciech Savinovic through the hog pen. Once again, it's been utter domination at the front of the field. He's going to see the checkered flag, and here's your race winner for Semper Racing here in round 26. Your top am, Craig Williams. He's going to stay ahead of his teammate Jack Sedgwick, and that'll help the Was Cooking Bike CSS driver to take more points off of the AM Championship leader. We come across the line, and Shirley and Dan Martin giving the place to Martin Shirley there. So Shirley getting a good result. Oh no, Dan Martin, no, it is Shirley ahead of Dan Martin. It's just correcting itself as our graphics there. Stuart Bickley towards the back with Damien Harris. Don't think there'll be a change of position there. Harris, of course, who had his incident at the turns 4A and 4B, and Andreas Gilman will be the last of the runners to cross the line. But Wojciech Savinovic, he gets your race win here in round 26 of the championship, and the Semper Racing driver will be delighted with that. But let's get you your reverse grid draw. Don't forget, anything more than 14, or 14 and above, is effectively a full reverse grid here. That wheel's, oh my goodness.
Oh dear, oh dear.
If you are Andreas Gilman, you are going to be absolutely livid with that draw. 13 is the draw here for this one. So let's take you through your race results, and let's get you what your reverse grid will be. Wojciech Savinovic for Semper Racing in his Honda Civic. He takes the win by 8.4 seconds over the Pure Sims Esports duo of Ross McFarlane and Jake Blackhall. Craig Williams for Was Cooking by CSS leads his teammate in 4th place and takes the AM win. Once again, 2 4th places in a row for Craig ahead of Jack Sedgwick. Stefan Scheller then gets 6th place ahead of Team Mad's Maciej Sakovic, who does manage to hang on to 2nd place in AM with 7th. 8th place for Andy Shield, getting an AM podium there for 3M UK, ahead of the 2 RD SimSpot drivers, Martin Shirley and the Dan Martin being very kind to his teammate in allowing him through. David Baker is going to be just off of the front row of the grid in 11th place in the results. Then the front row of the grid is going to be Damien Harris in 2nd. And once again, the man who started on pole position in this race, Stuart Bickley for AI Race Summaries DCW Racing Blue, finishes 13th. Andreas Gilman, who we saw have contact in the early stages of the race down the back straight for Impulse Racing, he finishes down in 14th. So yeah, if you're Andreas Gilman, you will be absolutely livid with that. Stuart Bickley, though, he'll be hoping to not get bullied quite so much in the start of this next race, then, Connery.
Yeah, absolutely. But we gotta say, pour one out for my boy Andreas. Okay, because that is probably one of the more unlucky things I've seen so far this season with the spinny wheel. So that's unfortunate. The only driver not to be affected by a reverse grid in this final race. So it is what it is. Bickley, of course, on the flip side of the coin, probably the luckiest driver today, given that he's gotten both of the reverse grid pole positions. So that's the situation heading into our final race of the day. What an opportunity, though, for Damien Harris, because he's starting front row of the on the starting grid for race number 3, and we know how quick he's capable of being. So as long as he can get disposed of Bickley early and get clear and away, then he's definitely going to be one of the hot favourites coming into this final race.
Apologies, I've got some dust in my eye from... I've got multiple fans running in this room, so apologies about that, getting dust in my eye. Not being emotional about Andreas Gilman's missing out on pole position there. But, I mean, Wojciech Savinovic, he was able to get to the front very early on and just did his own thing. We barely mentioned him in that race.
Yeah, and that's one of the best races to have, right? Is just be a very understated, just do get the job done without any dramas, and that's what Wojciech was able to do here. Of course, the situation becomes a little bit more complicated now for this third race, given he's starting second to last on the grid for this one. So maybe a bit more action. Maybe we'll be saying his name a little bit more in this next event. But yeah, that's definitely the way to win it, isn't it? Just sort of quietly driving at the front, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds ahead of everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what you want to do, is be able to just get up to the front, drive away, and be able to do that. I mean, the thing is, first race of the evening, he started third from last. So he's got experience around here, and he saw how difficult it can be to make overtakes. And I'm actually been surprised at how difficult it's been for some people to get those overtakes done here tonight. And yeah, it really has been a little bit of an eye-opener in terms of that. But you have to feel sorry for Stuart Bickley. I mean, Stefan Scheller has actually apologised in the virtual paddock and for the contact that he made with Stuart Bickley. So yeah, you do have to feel that Stuart got a little bit bullied out the way in that race, as did Martin Shirley as well. Well, what we will do is we will step aside for just a few moments whilst we get ourselves set for the final race of the evening here. You're watching the World Touring Car Series here from World Sim Racing on RaceSpotTV. Welcome back to coverage of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. We are getting ourselves set for the final race of the evening here. Delighted to have your company. Paul Smith and Connery Maddock here for this coverage here today. And it's the final race of the evening, and it will be also the three-quarters stage of the championship when we get to the end of this evening. We'll have an idea as to who the championship battles will be between. Not to forget that in 2 weeks, so next week the teams, the drivers have a 1 week break. I think a few of the drivers have to do a speed awareness course and several driver handling, car handling courses as well before the next round of the championship in 2 weeks' time when we go to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. And then it'll be Donington Park on the national circuit and Silverstone on the national circuit to finish off this championship. But with about just under 5 minutes of practice to go, conditions have cooled down once again for the drivers out there, Connery. Looking at just before 7 PM in sim time. Look at that track temperature. The drivers will be delighted by that.
Yeah, absolutely. In a range where they don't have to worry about overheating the tyres. So that is a very, very comfortable position to be in. Lots of cloud cover as well, keeping those track temperatures low. All very pleasant, marginal wind. It's all looking rather lovely in terms of car handling out there with those track conditions. So that's one less excuse for the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, because we've got about 4 minutes before the final race of the evening, it's now time for European commentators to go on a rant about American corner numbering. I mean, this circuit is... It's officially in the sim got 20 turns, but when you look at the track map, it's got 17 turns. And the corner numbering, I've never understood it. We've got turns at the left hook, which is 4A, then we've got 4B, you've got 5A, 5B, 6A, 6B, and then through the S's you've got 8A and 8B. And then the final couple of corners you've got 16A and 16B. Why an A and a B? Why not just give them their own number?
What makes it worse is that it's not consistent across track maps.
No.
Because the one I have doesn't have a 5B. It has a 5A though. It has a 5A, but it has no 5B. And for some reason 13 is completely missing. So... need I say more?
I mean, you look at this track, you look at Road America, which has famously given corners to straights. You've got Road Atlanta, which again is another track which has got the lettering on corner numbers. I'm about to get sniped by Drew Adamson from iRacing for that comment, because we know how much he loves Road Atlanta. But yeah, got the naming, the corner numbering and naming convention just does not seem to be consistent in America compared to Europe, where we give our corners names.
I mean, we've also got in the US every track has to have a corkscrew or a carousel. or something after Andretti. Or and things like that. So,
although saying that, if we're talking confusing corner numbers and names, Spa-Francorchamps, where they seem to seemingly change the corner names every 3 weeks, that doesn't help us commentators out here. Can you tell everybody that we're trying to fill some time between now and the start of the race? But it's true. It's confusing to us in the commentary box. And then you get fans going, no, that's this corner. No, but they changed them to this corner, didn't they?
Here's a thing, Paul. Is it Bruxelles or is it Rivage?
Well, I always knew it as Rivage because that's what it was always known as, but recently it's been changed to Bruxelles. It's like Pouhon at Spa. Sorry, I'm going on my Spa corner name right now. Pouhon, which has always been known as Pouhon to me, is now double gauche, which literally means double left.
That sounds like an American corner name.
You've got
literal with them.
You've got the Fanya chicane, which is also known as Piff Path. You've got Stavelot Corner, which is been renamed to Campus. But then you've got Curve Paul Freya, which was renamed to Stavelot. And then the little corner which used to be karting is now Curve Paul Freya.
Yeah. They sort of shifted the corner names along one, didn't they?
Well, the most confusing one for me was earlier this year, actually getting my first ever opportunity at a real world commentary, going to Monza. And what did I do on the pace lap at the start of a 12-hour race? I called it the Parabolica.
Yeah, because
it's not the Parabolica, it's the Curva Alberetta.
Yeah. I think it's forgivable though.
It's got a beautiful mural there, to be fair, on the track surface, I must say. Well, on the runoff for Michele Alboreto. But enough of ranting about corner names and corner numbers. We are getting ourselves set for the final race of the evening here in the World Touring Car Series. And, well, we are going to see the drivers taking to the grid. And we will have a look at that grid then. So it's Stuart Bickley. He gets a second opportunity at starting on pole position, but he's got the fast starting Audi of Damien Harris alongside him on that front row. David Baker and Dan Martin share the second row of the grid with Martin Shirley and Andy Scheel on row number 3. Maciej Sakovic then is on row number 4 with Stefan Scheller. Jack Sedgwick and Craig Williams are two teammates. They're going to continue their fight, inter-team fight on the 5th row of the grid with the two teammates from Pure Sims, Jake Blackhall and Ross McFarlane then on the 6th row of the grid. 7th row of the grid is Wojciech Savinovic, a race winner from round 26, and then the one driver who missed out on the reverse grid. Andreas Gilman starts at the back of the grid in 14th. So, the drivers getting themselves to the grid for the start of this race. As I say, Stuart Bickley, Connery, getting a second opportunity, a second bite at the cherry from pole position.
Yep, second go. The last one didn't go awfully well. Although, it was okay for the first couple of laps. He was able to extend the gap, actually, and, try and pull off a couple of defensive moves and keep himself ahead. But an incident, of course, sending him a little bit further back through the fields after all of that happened. But now, like you said, second chance at getting it done. Hopefully, he's able to make better use out of this one.
He certainly will be looking to get a better start here in his DCW, his AI Race Summaries DCW Racing Blue car. Let's give it its full title. But the drivers will look towards the starter's gantry for this round number 27 of the World Touring Car Series. The engine revs rise, and we will go racing. And again, that Audi, such a good launch from the front row of the grid. Damien Harris takes the lead going in towards turn number 1. Dan Martin and David Baker are side by side into turn number 1, and the RD Simsport driver trying to go around the outside. It's very difficult to do that indeed. So the two teammates from RD Simsport together in 4th and 5th places. Andy Scheel looks to move then on Martin Shirley. Meanwhile, the Craig setup shot car and Jack Sedgwick down the inside at 2 into the left hook. Incredible move from Jack Sedgwick. He means business in the early going here. Sakovic and Savinovic, the two Polish drivers, going neck and neck through the chicane. And I think Savinovic has got to slow down. So he's got a slow down penalty here, but Sedgwick, Connery, is being in business.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big ballsy move. Oh, Savinovic out into the grass, continues his little off-track excursion all the way to the back of the field now as he heads his way through that the S's section towards Oak Tree. That was not ideal. Well done to keep a hold of it, though, but it does result in a lot of lost positions and a lot of lost time.
I can tell you Ross McFarlane's actually lost a place at the start here. He's dropped down to 13th in all of this. Here comes Sedgwick. Down the back straight, and the grunt of that Audi. He must have it trimmed out a little bit as well as they go into roller coaster. Here's McFarlane then moving forward through all of this now, trying to make a bit of a recovery out of all that in the early going. But as we come to the end of the first lap, Damien Harris leads Stuart Bickley, who's got a queue of cars behind him. David Baker, Dan Martin together, and Jack Sedgwick is quickly rocking up onto the scene here. These guys are going to be under pressure from Jack. Baker's going to the outside, but we've seen all evening that into turn one, that's not the move to make.
Yeah, not at all. Even though it seems like a very obvious overtaking opportunity, it is very, very difficult to actually pull off in reality. So it's one of those places where you can get a run, you can get side by side, but actually completing the pass is a completely different beast as we see these battles go on. As Bickley tries to hold on to that reverse grid position, of course lost the race lead, but is trying to fight tooth and nail for P2 at the moment. And well, Baker and Sedgwick are leaning on each other. Oh, don't have it happen again, guys.
Not underneath the bridge. That is for sure, and Martin's around. He's going to give it a boot full of throttle. He's in the middle of the road. He's coming right in front of you. Hold your brakes until everybody's passed, Dan. And Savinovic straight back to the pits. So Sakovic has got a meatball mechanical warning flag. Dan Martin, Wojciech Savinovic and Andy Shield through that one incident are all heading to pit road from that one. And how on earth did that start? Because it seemed to be that Baker and Sedgwick were almost coming to blows underneath the bridge, and then all of a sudden Dan Martin's there and off into the weeds.
Well, we'll get a look at it. It's kind of hard to see from that angle. I think this one, if we wound it back a little bit further, would have given us a bit of a better view of it.
He's lost it. It's because he's trying to hold the tighter line, and then 1, 2, and then hits reverse 3. Bang. All getting mechanical meatball warning flags from that one incident. And here's Savinovic, and this is not going to make pretty viewing, that is for sure. And the thing is, Savinovic has committed right here, and that is why it's important to hold your brakes until you've got a big enough gap to be able to move.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think he thought that, okay, everyone's come past, and there's always that one more. There's always that one that you haven't really thought about, that then you accidentally back into and cause all the problems. So yeah, it's advice that's said quite often, but it's not necessarily always followed.
Bickley ended up with a slowdown penalty. He cut too much of the S's, so that's going to be Sedgwick going through, or at least he's trying to. David Baker also picked up a slowdown penalty through that section of the S's as well. There's Bickley. He's trying to serve his penalty. Sedgwick goes, oh, come on, I want to get past here. He's still fighting it, to be fair, is Bickley. He's taken a long time to serve this one, and he's served it. So he could be on for a good result here with, like I say, 4 cars heading to pit road. He's looking at a good result here as Stuart, if he can keep it on the grey stuff.
Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. And as a result now has the tow from Sedgwick, at least on this particular lap, to try and keep Baker at bay, who, like you've said, has not quite been on top of being able to get enough practice for this event, so wasn't really expecting much out of it, but still going along quite well in this third race. 4th place wouldn't be too shabby of a finish. I know he wants to try and get himself on the podium though, and that is looking like a good possibility at the moment, because even though Bickley has been pretty good at defending so far, I don't think he can keep this up for another 14 minutes with another bunch of cars behind him.
Well, we saw this in race 2 of the evening, but the leader, Damien Harris, is 7 seconds ahead of Jack Sedgwick here. As Craig Williams looking down the inside of Scheller, there's some tyre smoke going through there. as well. And you've got 5 cars all covering a very small section of track right now as they're coming through NASCAR Bend. But yeah, Sedgwick is 7 seconds back from Damien Harris, so Harris can pretty much control his pace at the front, look after his tyres, and be able to just keep a good pace up at the front in that Wave Italy car. Remember, finished the first race in 2nd place in Harris. As we look at Bickley, Baker, Williams, Scheller and McFarlane, all together 5 cars. Andreas Gilman's gained 6 places in this race. He's up into 8th. Jake Blackhall's up 2 places into 9th. Martin Shirley has dropped places, but is in 10th place right now. But that AI race summaries with DCW Racing blue car is really been a thorn in the side of a number of drivers in the 2nd and 3rd race.
Yeah, it really has. But yeah, it's certainly an intriguing situation. You can see that Bickley has actually been able to cap Baker a little bit here on the way down the back straight, and now we see Williams going for the move on that Pure Sims car around the outside for the initial kink, and then they'll give him the inside for the right, and then swings all the way back through. So that's Craig Williams up into what is 4th place out there on circuit, getting the pass done on the pro driver, at least categorized that way, of David Baker. So we might be seeing an interesting fight here for M-Class lead in the not too distant future. If Williams is really feeling like he has the pace at the moment, definitely will have down the straight in that Audi for sure, then Bickley might be a bit concerned here.
I think Craig Williams needs to do everything he can to stay in 4th place, because then that would be 3 4th places in a row this evening. But with the way that was cooking by CSS car has been going this evening, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the top 3 here tonight on pace. He's just had that good a car underneath him. You can see Bickley's not able to get through the left hook and through that tighter section quite as efficiently as others out there. And here comes Williams with the run out of the S's, but he's going to have to hold the line, because you are pretty much one line through this section, through the left, right, and then you've got the left at South Bend. And again, Bickley just running that little bit wide of the apex, but it's this run here through this double apex corner right now and getting the run down the straight. But Williams, we've seen with the grunt of that Audi, you should expect to see him come up alongside Bickley by the end of the straight, although that Honda does seem to be trimmed out as well. But here we go, the slipstream is happening now.
Yep, so drawing him closer and closer and closer down into the braking zone of the roller coaster. Not quite close enough to go for a lunge there, is Williams. So he's going to have to set himself up for a little bit later on. Of course, he does have David Baker big in his mirrors at the moment, and well, Baker's being followed by McFarlane here at the moment as well. So a bunch of Pure Sims machines in the mirrors of Williams here, which might be a little disconcerting, but I think he's got to focus on the task ahead now to see if he can get through on Bickley. He's going to have a decent chance here in towards turn number 1. Around the outside he will have to go, but it's so tricky to make it around the outside here. You better set yourself up for the cut in and the cut back, though, as he's prized the inside open.
And we saw him do exactly that in the last race on Maciej Sakovic. But here comes Baker down the inside now of NASCAR. Bickley's holding them up, and Baker's passed Williams in all this, and now he's going for that 3rd place is David. Side by side on the exit. Oh, Bickley's slow off the corner now. Here comes Williams. Oh, and it feels he's getting a bit freight trained there. Bang! To the door. Barge his way through for Williams. Here comes McFarlane now, and yeah, Bickley's getting freight trained. This is what happened in the last race, is that Bickley got bullied out the way here. He's managed to sort of slide into the pack here in 6th place, but he won't be happy about that treatment. Oh, runs wide. He got to slide through South Bend then. That allows Scheller to mount an attack, and now Gilman's looking down the inside of Scheller there at the oak tree onto the back straight. But Baker now looking to gap Craig Williams with Ross McFarlane. Here comes Jake Blackall with Gilman. Bickley's at the head of this quartet now that it's sorted itself out. And Blackall, can he get alongside? Can he get past going into the braking? No, because Gilman's got the inside, and well, Gilman's just done what Scheller did to Bickley in the last race.
Yeah, basically in the exact same way as well. So maybe some of the wouldn't say revenge because it's not the same parties, but it's quite a funny thing seeing the same situation happen just in reverse there, coming down in towards the roller coaster. Of course, battles do continue though, as we see McFarlane now down the inside of Williams. It's very, very tricky again because you have that advantage switch midway through the complex, which gives Williams the advantage coming through the back end of this section, but you see McFarlane is able to get back up under him.
Now McFarlane's got to be careful here because of course Williams is Sedgwick's teammate, and McFarlane and Sedgwick are fighting it out for the Pro Championship here. So McFarlane's got to be careful because Williams will do a bit of defending here, even though there isn't team orders necessarily in that was cooking by CSS team. They do help each other out, and right now Williams is he's in 4th place where he's finished the first 2 races of the evening, but 2, he wants to help out Sedgwick with that gap in the championship as well.
They're going to do things within their best interest. Bickley off though, coming out the exit of Oak Tree, has now fallen down in towards P8 and will be losing a lot of steam going down this back straight as a result as well, so may fall into the clutches of Scheller.
Oh, here's Williams, the grunt of that Audi. He's gone from defending from McFarlane to now getting past Baker here. That Audi is just incredible down that back straight, and Baker, there was nothing that you could do about that.
It's almost like he was at a standstill there towards the end of the straight. It was quite a thing to behold, and you would have thought now Williams is going to be able to extend this. Are we seeing a swap there from Baker and McFarlane? Yes, we are. So team orders in effect for Pure Sims. Well,
here's the thing. David Baker, I've been a teammate of him for years. If he knows that he's not in the fight for a championship and McFarlane is, he will do the honourable thing, and he will allow his teammate to go by to help his cause. So as we've seen Bickley and Scheller absolutely together. Around the outside goes Scheller. You can carry the speed through that corner. It's just a squeeze on the tight stuff now. Scheller should take that place and does.
Indeed he does. And, well, Bickley, I mean, he got a lot of TV time, right? With being at the front of the field, trying to hold on to those positions. But, you know, once you get freight trains, it is really, really difficult to try and recover from that if you're one of those reverse grid beneficiaries, so to speak. But now for this final podium position, still looking intriguing, still looking like it's not settled down, especially when McFarlane basically pushes Craig Williams, through the corner.
And actually allows Craig Williams to gap out a little bit at the front of this trio of cars, because McFarlane would have had to have got off the throttle a little bit there. It allows Williams to get the run out of the corner and get the gap there. That's the problem with making contact going into the corner. You get off the throttle and the other car actually gets a better run out of it because of that. So through the go, through the hog pen once again. With 4 minutes and 10 seconds remaining, Damien Harris leads this race by 6.5 seconds over Jack Sedgwick in 2nd place right now. Craig Williams has made it to 3rd place then and is the top AM driver in the field in this final race of the evening, ahead of the 2 Pure Sims drivers of Ross McFarlane and David Baker. Andreas Gilman then in 6th place is the 2nd place AM driver. And the third place down driver is Stuart Bickley in 9th, and he has got a gap over Martin Shirley right now, so Stuart could be on for a podium, as there's a mistake from Williams, getting over the curb too much. It unsettled the car, and that allowed McFarlane to get a little bit of a run.
It has, maybe, I don't think really McFarlane can do much with this here at the moment, because he's going to still be stuck behind through the S's here, and his next opportunity is going to be Oak Tree braking zone potentially, but that is not necessarily a move that is the most optimal one here, so they're just going to follow each other closely through the exit of that corner. Then McFarlane's hoping to get it done on this back straight, but it's so difficult because of the performance of the Audi in this particular section. The gap's actually extending, looking on my timing screen. No matter how close McFarlane can get to the back of that, just about now he's only starting to level out and gain marginally down into the braking zone, but it's quite something when, even though you have a slipstream and you're within 0.2 of a second, you're still barely gaining.
Got to remember there is a manual balance and performance adjustment for that Veloster, and it's got half a percent of power reduction and a 4 kilogram weight penalty for that Veloster compared to the base iRacing balance and performance, and maybe we're seeing that down that straight, just not able to it just seems to run out of legs a little bit, doesn't it? Through the corners though, this car is a lot more nippier than the Audi in front, and that's where McFarlane has the big advantage here. It just seems a lot more agile, does this car, compared to that Audi RS3 LMS TCR in front of him. That's a mistake from McFarlane through the corners there, had to back out of it, and that allows Williams to pull away here. Now, when Harris crossed the line, I think we're going to get another lap, although it's going to be tight at the line here with our timing.
Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on it as McFarlane 2 tyres out into the grass. He's going to be very thankful that the iRacing grass updates have come through, because otherwise that would have been potentially a pretty catastrophic incident through that section if we were using the old surface model for the off-track sections. So, yeah, gotta be careful still though. Meanwhile, 0.4 of a second is not going to be enough to make a move down in towards the roller coaster, so we can safely look away and have a look at.
It will.
Yeah,
it will be another lap. Yeah. So the drivers have been able to get 11 laps out of each of these races. There's Damien Harris from Wave Italy. We've barely talked about him since the start of this race. There he goes across the line in his Audi. It's Audi, Audi, Audi. That's the first three, and I'm not a Brit on a Club 1830 getaway shouting that either. So it is 3 Audis at the top of the standings, and Hyundai Veloster to the inside. McFarlane, can he get the move? Can he get it stuck there? Williams is on the slippier outside line. He's going to struggle to get the power down, and he's still alongside though. This is going to be tight through NASCAR and then into the left hook. McFarlane can carry the speed on corner exit onto the brakes. If he can stay alongside here, he should have the advantage. McFarlane, oh, the car's a bit unsettled. That could give Williams then a run. But McFarlane up into 3rd place. That's going to help him with his championship fight. But this isn't over yet. Sedgwick is Williams is all over the pack of McFarlane's Veloster as they head through the S's now for the final time in this race as the sun sets here at VIR onto the brakes through South Bend. If you're McFarlane, you're praying that your teammate David Baker could get involved in here and distract Williams, because we're coming through Oak Tree and it was a mistake for McFarlane. The back end slid out there. Williams has got the run down the back straight now. He's got the slipstream as well as they're heading uphill. And as they go past the water tower on the left-hand side, Williams Well, it depends. Which way do you go? If you're McFarlane, you hold that right line, trying to get the inside. Williams is there in third. McFarlane, they're late to the brakes. Oh, Gilman! What on earth was that from Andreas Gilman? Well, we'll have to look to the front, though, because Damien Harris is going to take the win here. Damien Harris wins ahead of Jack Sedgwick. But we're going to have a look at what happened there into the roller coaster. It was either a brake failure or a brain failure in that one. David Baker is classified as third. McFarlane fourth ahead of Blackhall. Gilman is sixth. And very provisionally gets the AM win. But I want to see a replay of that. I want to see what happened there into that final section of the final complex of this lap.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait a couple of moments to get that one, because it didn't immediately come up as an event on the system. But yeah, that was crazy. Like, I have no idea what's sort of triggered that situation. We'll get the replay here in just another couple of seconds. By the way, we can get another look at it, but it's I don't know. Watch it yourself.
Well, here we go, on board, and I think he's missed a breaking point here. From I like to see the positives, and I don't like to call that. Oh, he's massively missed it, because he is braking. He's trying to slow that car down. I mean, he'll end up with a massive penalty from that.
Yeah.
Well, Andreas, but he's missed his braking point. Going into the braking zone there, he's lost where he is and hit the brakes, and you just can't get the car slowed down. And he's yeah, that was a big error there, and it's going to have big consequences as well in your race results here. And well, so here is your very provisional race results here for the final race of this evening. Damien Harris, well, there's no doubt about his result. He wins for Wave Italy in his Audi by 6.7 seconds ahead of Jack Sedgwick in his Was Cooking by CSS car. David Baker leads the Pure Sims trio across the line in third place ahead of Ross McFarlane and Jake Blackhall in fifth. Andreas Gilman then provisionally gets sixth place for Impulse Racing ahead of Stefan Scheller. Craig Williams then for Was Cooking by CSS gets the 8th place and 2nd place in AM. Stuart Bickley gets himself an AM podium in 9th place in his AI Race Summaries DCW Racing Blue car ahead of Martin Shirley for RD Simsport. Dan Martin in 11th ahead of, and these are the drivers who were all affected by that incident of Dan Martin. So Dan actually finishes 11th in the end in that one. Andy Shield 12th ahead of Maciej Sakovic, and Wojciech Savinovic rounds out your runners here in this round number 27 of the World Touring Car Series. I haven't seen a missed braking point like that quite as bad as that for a long time.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of my last one as well. That was pretty catastrophic. It came out of nowhere for us as well. We just like saw immediately someone just coming ram in, and yeah, that was. I don't know. I mean, there's been no discussion about it in the Discord here for.
There has.
Oh, there has.
Not
okay.
a lot. Not a lot, but there has been. And the thing is, I know Craig Williams does use a direct drive wheel and a high end one at that.
Oh yeah.
That will, because he wouldn't have been expecting that at all. He wouldn't have seen it in his rear view mirror, and he would have been turning when. Bang, that wheel would have whipped around, and you can do some serious damage with those.
Yeah, it really is. And that's why you got to be careful, of course, as much as you can be with these things. That's why a lot of leagues actually ban crashing into each other after the race, because people aren't expecting it, and because you know, a lot of drivers have those more powerful force feedback wheels, it can cause big problems. Yes, there's a cutoff where it doesn't go any higher. You can set, but not all drivers set that. So it's, but yeah, either way, it's not intentional. That's definitely not the situation there. It's just a catastrophic mistake.
I always think back to a few years ago in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. It was at Barcelona, and Jamie Fluke was streaming his point of view, and he got involved in an incident, and they use extremely powerful force feedback direct drive wheels, and he injured his elbow and all of that because he was turning, and there was a big hit on his car, so it can cause some serious damage. So that is why you do have those rules in place for series. Now, that's the end of the racing for tonight. The drivers get a week off next week, and then in 2 weeks' time, we do head to Brands Hatch for the Grand Prix layout of the circuit, which is, in my opinion, the better version of the Brands Hatch layout. Some prefer the Indy, but I like the Grand Prix circuit where the cars can stretch their legs. But we're going into that final quarter of the season here, Connery, and you have to say the championship fight is very much in pro between McFarlane and Sedgwick, and in AM between Gilman and Williams.
Yeah, it definitely things to look forward to in these last couple of rounds. That's for sure. For us to try and resolve those particular battles, because you know typically we have seen one of the two championships people just starting to run away at this stage, but both of them are actually very, very close indeed. We'll see how close they are after all the points have been totaled and all the penalties have been applied, etc., from this particular race event. But it is setting us up for a decent 3-round sprint to the end.
It certainly is. Well, I'm afraid that is all that we've got time for here on RaceSpotTV. But make sure you stick around, because on Monday evening it is the World GT Championship coverage here on RaceSpotTV. That is on Monday evening at 8 o'clock here on the channel from the Red Bull Ring. And on Tuesday evening, 8 o'clock UK time, it's the World Sports Car Championship, so make sure you check those out. But from everybody here, from VIR, from Paul Smith and Connery Maddock at RaceSpotTV, it's goodbye.